I remember that day 7 years ago. It was my wedding day. The sun was bright and warm. The sky was so blue. I wore a long white dress. My heart felt full of hope. Derek stood in front of me. He took my hand. He looked into my eyes. Then he said something special. "Let's get married on your birthday," he said. "I want the whole world to celebrate. 2 happy days in one. Every year will be perfect." I felt tears in my eyes. I thought it was the most romantic thing. No one ever said that to me before. I said yes immediately. I was so happy. I believed he truly loved me. At that time, I had a good job. I worked hard for 5 years. My boss wanted me to stay. My friends said I had a bright future. But Derek had big dreams. He wanted to build his own company. He needed my support. "Stay home," he said one night. "Help me with my work. We can do this together." I loved him so much. I wanted to help him succeed. So I left my job. I said goodbye to my career. I chose Derek. I chose our future together. The wedding day came quickly. Everything looked beautiful. White flowers covered every table. Soft music played in the background. My family smiled at me. Derek's friends filled the room. Everyone wore expensive clothes. The cake was 3 layers tall. Champagne bottles stood in neat rows. It all felt like a dream. Derek held my hand during the ceremony. He spoke his vows clearly. His voice was strong and confident. I spoke my vows too. My voice shook a little. I was so nervous and excited. Then we were married. Everyone clapped and cheered. The celebration began right away. Guests moved to the big hall. Music started to play. People danced and laughed. The room felt so warm. Derek led me to the center. We danced our first dance. Then the toasts began. Derek's best friend spoke first. He told funny stories about Derek. Everyone laughed. My father spoke next. He wished us many happy years. His eyes looked wet with tears. Then Derek stood up. He held a glass high. The room became quiet. Everyone waited to hear him speak. "Thank you all for coming," he said. "This is the happiest day of my life." He looked at me and smiled. "To our anniversary," he said loudly. "To our love, to many beautiful years together." Everyone raised their glasses. They all repeated his words. "To your anniversary, to your love." The room filled with warm sounds. I smiled and drank champagne, but something felt strange inside me. Derek never said happy birthday. He never mentioned it at all. The guests didn't know. They only knew about the wedding. They only celebrated our marriage. No one sang birthday songs. No one gave me birthday cards. It was my birthday, but it became invisible. It disappeared into the wedding celebration. I pushed the feeling away. I told myself it didn't matter. We were married now. That was more important. Derek loved me. That was all I needed. The party went on for hours. We cut the beautiful cake. We took hundreds of photos. We thanked every guest. Finally, the night ended. Derek and I left together. We drove to a nice hotel. I felt tired, but happy. In the car, Derek held my hand. "Perfect day," he said. "Perfect wife." I smiled at him, but deep inside, something felt different. Something small had changed. A tiny crack appeared in my heart. I didn't understand it then. I didn't want to see it. I was too much in love. I was too full of hope. 7 years later, I would understand. 7 years later, everything would be clear. But on that night, I only felt happy. I only saw my new husband. I only believed in our future. I had no idea what was coming. I had no idea about the truth. That wedding day was beautiful, but it was also the beginning of my disappearance, the beginning of becoming invisible. 7 years passed quickly. This morning I woke up early. The house felt cold around me. It was a big house, too big for just 2 people. The bedroom was empty beside me. Derek already left for work. He always left early now. I got up slowly. I put on my robe. I walked down the long hallway. My feet made soft sounds on the floor. The mansion had 12 rooms, but it never felt like home. It felt like a museum. Everything was perfect and clean. Everything was expensive and beautiful, but nothing felt warm. I went to the kitchen. On the table, I saw red roses. A huge bouquet sat in a crystal vase. The flowers looked fresh and bright. Next to them was a white card. I picked up the card. I already knew what it would say. Happy anniversary, my beautiful wife. The words were printed, not handwritten. Derek bought this card from a store. He didn't write anything himself. No personal message. No, I love you. Just printed words. I looked at the roses again. They were beautiful, but they felt cold. Like everything else in this house, there was no birthday card, no birthday gift, no cake with candles, just roses for our anniversary. Just a printed card. I put the card down. I made coffee for myself. I sat alone at the big table. The house was completely silent. I remembered my birthdays before Derek. My mother always baked a cake. My friends always called me. We always laughed together, but now, nobody called. Nobody remembered. They all thought today was just my anniversary. Derek made sure of that. Later that morning, I drove to the supermarket. I needed food for tonight. Derek planned a dinner party. Business partners were coming to our house. I had to prepare everything. At the checkout counter, I paid for groceries. The cashier was a young woman. She had a friendly smile. She looked at my credit card. Then she checked my ID. Her eyes went wide. "Oh," she said suddenly, "it's your birthday today." She looked up at me. "Happy birthday." I felt something break inside my chest. Tears almost came to my eyes. "Thank you," I said quietly. She was the first person, the very first person all day, a stranger at the supermarket. She remembered when my husband forgot. I drove home with wet eyes. The groceries sat beside me. I felt so alone, even surrounded by expensive things. Even living in a big mansion, I was completely invisible. That evening, guests started to arrive. Derek came home early for once. He wore his best suit. He smiled and greeted everyone. The house filled with important people, business partners, and their wives. Everyone wore expensive clothes. Everyone drank expensive wine. Derek held my arm. He walked me around the room. "This is my wife, Veronica," he said. He said it again and again. "She is the soul of this home." People smiled at me. They shook my hand. But Derek never really looked at me. I was just decoration, just something pretty to show. like the crystal vase, like the expensive paintings on the walls. We all sat down for dinner. I served the food I prepared. Derek talked about business. The men discussed money and deals. The wives talked about shopping. I smiled and nodded. I poured more wine. I cleared the plates. Nobody really saw me. Then one guest turned to me. She was an older woman. She wore many diamonds. "Veronica," she asked, "how old are you?" The table became quiet. Everyone waited for my answer. I opened my mouth to speak, but Derek spoke first. "Women have no age, right?" he said. He laughed loudly. The other men laughed too. The women smiled politely. The conversation moved on. Nobody asked me again. I sat very still. My hands shook a little. Derek didn't know. He truly didn't know. Was I 34 today? Or 35? He had no idea. My own husband, he couldn't answer that simple question. He never even thought about it. I was just his wife, just the woman who lived here, just someone who served dinner. My age didn't matter to him. My birthday didn't matter. I didn't matter. The dinner party continued for hours. People laughed and talked. Music played softly. Everything looked perfect from outside. But I felt like glass, transparent and fragile. People looked through me, not at me, through me. I was disappearing. My identity was fading away. 7 years ago, I had a name. I had a job. I had friends who knew me. I had a birthday that people celebrated. Now I only had this role, Derek's wife, the soul of this home. Whatever that meant, later that night, everyone left. Derek went upstairs. He fell asleep immediately. He was tired from talking. I stayed downstairs alone. I cleaned the kitchen slowly. I washed every dish. I put away every glass. The house became quiet again. I stood in the empty dining room. I looked at my reflection in the window. A woman looked back at me. But I barely recognized her. Who was she? Where did Veronica go? The real Veronica, the one who existed before. I turned off the lights. I went upstairs. Derek was already sleeping. He never said goodnight. I lay down beside him. The bed felt cold. The house felt cold. My heart felt cold. Today was my birthday. Today was my anniversary. But today felt like nothing, like I was nothing. Invisible, forgotten, erased. The next day, I went to a bookstore. I needed something just for me. I walked through the quiet aisles. Books stood on tall shelves. The store smelled like paper and coffee. I found what I wanted, a black leather journal. It was small and plain. Nobody would notice it. I bought it with cash. I didn't want Derek to see it. I drove home carefully. The journal sat in my purse. It felt like a secret, my first secret in years. At home, I went straight upstairs. I closed the bedroom door. I took out the journal. The leather felt smooth in my hands. I hid it under my pillow, deep under, where Derek never looked. That night, I waited. Derek came home late. He ate dinner quickly. He went to his office. He worked on his computer for hours. I sat alone in the bedroom. I pulled out the journal. I opened it to the first page. I picked up a pen. My hand shook a little. Then I started to write. Day 1, I wrote. He forgot my birthday again. He only remembered his company's anniversary. I stopped writing. I looked at those words. They looked so simple, but they hurt so much. I closed the journal. I put it back under the pillow. I felt different somehow. Something changed inside me. The next few weeks were strange. I started watching Derek, really watching him. I saw things I never noticed before. Derek remembered everything about work, every single detail, every number and date. One morning at breakfast, he made phone calls. "The Johnson contract ends on Tuesday," he said. He never forgot a contract date. Another day, he talked about his car. "I need to take the Porsche in," he said. "The maintenance is due next Friday." He remembered his car appointments perfectly. He knew every deadline. He knew every meeting time. He knew when bills were due. His memory was sharp and clear for business, for money, for things that mattered to him. But he forgot things about me. Every single day, he forgot. Last week was my friend Lisa's birthday. I mentioned it 3 times. "I need to buy a gift for Lisa," I said. Derek nodded but said nothing. On Lisa's actual birthday, Derek asked, "Who is Lisa again?" I just stared at him. Lisa was my best friend. For 10 years, Derek met her many times, but he didn't remember her name. Then there was the cake incident. Last month, Derek brought home dessert, a big chocolate cake. "Your favorite," he said proudly. I looked at the chocolate cake. Chocolate was his favorite, not mine. I always liked lemon cake, light and fresh, not heavy and sweet. I told him this many times. Years ago, before we married, on our dates, I always ordered lemon desserts, but Derek never remembered. He thought I liked what he liked. Every night, I wrote in my journal. I recorded everything. Day 8. Derek remembered his business partner's son's birthday. He sent an expensive gift, but he doesn't know my favorite color. Day 12. Derek knows exactly how much money we have, every account, every investment, but he doesn't know my mother's phone number. Day 15. Derek remembered to fix the garage door. He forgot to ask about my doctor's appointment. The list grew longer. The pattern became clear. Derek had selective memory. He remembered money. He remembered business. He remembered status. He remembered power, but he forgot me. He forgot my preferences. He forgot my friends. He forgot my life. I wasn't important enough to remember. Something happened to me during this time. The sadness started to fade. It turned into something else, something cold and clear. I stopped crying at night. I stopped feeling hurt. Instead, I started observing. I watched Derek like a scientist. I studied him carefully. I took notes. I collected data. He became a stranger to me, a stranger I lived with, a stranger I once loved. But now I just observed him. I sat across from him at dinner. I listened to him talk, but I didn't feel anything. My heart became quiet. My mind became sharp. I saw him clearly now. Every flaw, every selfish choice, every forgotten promise. Derek thought I was the same quiet wife, the same obedient woman. But I was changing, silently changing. He didn't notice. He never looked closely enough. One night, Derek fell asleep early. I pulled out my journal. I read all my entries, pages and pages of observations. Each one showed the same truth. Derek remembered what served him. He forgot what didn't. I was in the second category. I closed the journal slowly. I held it against my chest. This small black book. It held all my secrets now, all my thoughts, all my discoveries. It was mine alone. Derek would never see it. Derek would never know. I was building something he couldn't see, a new version of myself, a version that watched, a version that waited, a version that planned. I put the journal back under my pillow. I turned off the light. I lay in the darkness. Derek breathed deeply beside me. He had no idea what I was thinking, no idea what I was becoming. And that was exactly how I wanted it. One afternoon, everything changed. Derek left for work early. He rushed out the door. He forgot something important. His black briefcase sat on the kitchen counter. I saw it after he left. The briefcase was still there. Derek never left it at home. He always took it with him. He kept important papers inside, business documents, company files, confidential information. I stood and looked at it. My heart beat faster. Should I open it? Should I look inside? I waited for a moment. Then I picked it up. It felt heavy in my hands. I carried it to the dining table. I sat down. I clicked open the locks. The briefcase opened easily. Inside were many folders. Papers filled every section. I pulled out the first folder. It was labeled insurance. I opened it slowly. Inside were insurance documents, life insurance, health insurance, company insurance. Then I saw my name, Veronica Harper. My policy was there. I started reading the papers. The words were small and formal, but I understood them. Then I saw something wrong, very wrong. My birth year. The document said I was born in 1995. I stopped breathing. My hands started shaking. That was wrong, completely wrong. I was born in 1990, not 1995. 5 years different. I checked the paper again. Maybe I read it wrong, but no. It clearly said 1995. Someone changed my birth year. Someone made me younger on paper. 5 years younger. But why? Why would anyone do that? I pulled out more documents, tax records for Derek's company, employee benefits papers, dependent information forms. Every single paper had the wrong year. Every document said 1995. All of them were wrong. This wasn't a mistake. Mistakes don't happen everywhere. Someone did this on purpose. I felt sick to my stomach. My head started spinning. I needed to understand. I needed to know why. I went to Derek's office. We shared a computer there. He used it for home business. I turned it on. I opened his email account. Derek never logged out. He thought I never looked. He thought I didn't care. But today I looked. I searched for my name. I searched for insurance. I searched for dependent. Emails appeared on the screen, dozens of them. I clicked on the first one. It was from 2 years ago, an email to Derek's accountant. I read it carefully. My blood turned cold. Derek wrote, "Change Veronica's birth year to 1995. This will lower our insurance premiums. Dependent rates are cheaper for younger people." I clicked on another email. This one was from last year. Derek wrote to the same accountant, Make sure all tax forms show 1,995. We can claim better deductions this way. The government won't check dependent ages. I clicked on more emails. Each one made me feel worse. Derek planned everything. He told the accountant exactly what to do. He made me younger on paper, not because he loved me, not because he cared, but because it saved him money. I was just a number to him, just a way to pay less, a tool for his business, nothing more. I kept reading. I found more terrible information. The wrong birth year affected everything. My future retirement benefits, my Social Security payments, my medical coverage later. All of it was wrong now, all because of Derek's lies. When I turned 65, the system would see problems. The government would think I was only 60. I would lose 5 years of benefits, 5 years of payments, 5 years of coverage. Derek stole my future. He stole it to save money today. I sat back in the chair. I felt completely empty. Then I felt something else. Disgust. Pure, complete disgust. This man was my husband. I gave up everything for him, my career, my independence, my identity. And he turned me into this, a tax deduction, a way to cheat the system, an illegal tool for his company. He didn't just forget my birthday, he erased it. He changed it. He made me disappear on paper, not by accident, on purpose, for money. I thought about all the years, 7 years of marriage, 7 years of feeling invisible. Now I understood why. I was never a real person to him. I was just paperwork, just numbers on forms, just a way to save thousands of dollars. He committed fraud. He used me to break the law. He put my future at risk. And he never told me. He never asked permission. He just did it. Like I didn't matter. Like I had no rights. Like I was his property. I closed the computer. I went back to the dining table. I looked at all the papers, all the lies, all the fraud, all the evidence. Something hard formed in my chest. Not sadness anymore, not loneliness. Something stronger, something colder, determination. I wasn't going to cry. I wasn't going to break. I wasn't going to accept this. Derek made a huge mistake. He thought I was stupid. He thought I would never look. He thought I would never know. But now I knew everything, and I was going to use it. I put all the papers back carefully. Everything went back to its place. The briefcase looked untouched. Derek would never suspect. He would never know I found his secrets. Not yet. Not until I was ready. I carried the briefcase back to the kitchen. I put it exactly where Derek left it. Then I went upstairs. I pulled out my black journal. I wrote everything down. Every date, every email, every lie, every piece of fraud. The evidence was clear now. Derek wasn't just a bad husband. He was a criminal, and I was going to make sure everyone knew it. The next morning, I woke up different. I had a plan now. Derek came down for breakfast. I smiled at him warmly. "Good morning," I said sweetly. "Did you sleep well?" He looked surprised. I never asked him questions anymore. "Yes, fine," he said. He drank his coffee quickly. I poured him more. I made his favorite eggs. I asked about his meetings today. Derek looked at me strangely, but he seemed pleased. Over the next few weeks, I changed completely. On the outside, at least. I became the perfect wife again. I smiled more. I cooked his favorite meals. I asked about his work. I listened to his stories. I never complained. I never questioned anything. Derek noticed the change. "You seem happy lately," he said one night. "I am happy," I lied. "I just want to support you better." He smiled and kissed my forehead. "That's my girl," he said. I felt nothing when he touched me, but I kept smiling. Inside, I was planning everything. I needed help, professional help. I needed a lawyer. One afternoon, I drove across town. I parked far from our neighborhood. I walked into a tall office building. The lawyer's name was Patricia Chen. I found her on the internet. She specialized in divorce cases, especially complicated ones. I sat in her clean, quiet office. Patricia looked at me carefully. "Tell me everything," she said. I showed her my journal. I showed her photos of the documents. I took pictures with my phone. Derek never knew. I explained the insurance fraud. I explained the changed birth year. I explained everything. Patricia listened without speaking. Her face stayed calm and professional. When I finished, she nodded slowly. "This is serious," she said. "This is criminal fraud. Your husband broke federal laws." She looked at me directly. "Do you want to divorce him?" she asked. "Yes," I said immediately. "Absolutely yes." Patricia wrote notes on paper. "I need all the evidence," she said. "Every document you can find. Every email. Every receipt. Can you get those?" she asked. "Yes," I said. "I can get everything." Patricia leaned forward. "But listen carefully," she said. "Don't file anything yet. If you file now, he will know. He might hide his money. He might destroy evidence. Rich men always do this." She looked at my face. "Wait until he feels safe," she said. "Wait until he feels powerful. Wait until he is most arrogant. Then we strike." I understood completely. "When?" I asked. Patricia smiled slightly. "Pick a day that matters to him. A day when he feels like a winner. That's the best time." I knew exactly which day. Our anniversary. Our 8th anniversary. Derek always made it a big celebration. He always invited important people. He always showed off. That would be the perfect day. I saved Patricia's number in my phone, but I didn't use her real name. I wrote hair salon instead. Derek never looked at my phone, but I had to be careful. Over the next weeks, I worked quietly. When Derek left for work, I moved fast. I went to his office. I opened his files. I took out every important paper. I drove to a copy shop, a different one each time. Far from our house, I made copies of everything: insurance policies, tax documents, bank statements, email printouts, everything that showed his fraud. I kept the copies in my car, in a box under the spare tire. Derek would never look there. The evidence grew and grew. I had everything now, everything Patricia needed, everything that would destroy Derek. At home, I played my role perfectly: the loving wife, the supportive partner, the woman who asked no questions. Derek believed it completely. He thought I was happy again. He thought I finally accepted my life. He had no idea about the lawyer, no idea about the evidence, no idea about the storm coming. Our anniversary was 2 weeks away. Derek started planning his big party. I want to celebrate properly, he said. 8 years deserves something special. I'll invite everyone important. We'll show them how successful we are. I smiled and nodded. That sounds wonderful, I said. Inside, my heart beat steadily, cold and determined. I went shopping one afternoon. I bought a bright red envelope, expensive paper, beautiful and elegant. It looked like a luxury gift, perfect for an anniversary. I brought it home. I hid it in my closet. Soon, very soon, Derek would open it, but he wouldn't like what was inside. Every night, I lay awake. Derek slept beside me. He had no worries, no fears. He felt safe and powerful. He thought he won. He thought he controlled everything. He thought I would never leave. He thought I was too weak, too dependent, too broken. But he was wrong. So completely wrong. I wasn't the same woman anymore. I wasn't the girl in the white dress. I wasn't the invisible wife. I was someone new, someone strong, someone who knew the truth, someone who kept secrets, someone who planned revenge. A quiet storm was building. Derek couldn't see it. Derek couldn't hear it. But it was coming, and when it hit, nothing would be the same. I touched the red envelope in my closet. Soon, I thought. Very soon. The night finally came. Our 8th anniversary. The party was on a rooftop, high above the city. Lights sparkled below us. The sky was clear and dark. Derek invited 50 guests, business partners, important clients, rich friends. Everyone wore expensive clothes. Music played from speakers. Waiters carried trays of champagne. Tables held fancy food. Everything looked perfect. Derek stood in the center. He smiled at everyone. He shook hands. He told jokes. He looked so proud, so confident, so powerful. I wore a black dress, simple and elegant. I carried a small purse. Inside was the red envelope. I stayed close to Derek. I smiled at the guests. I played my role perfectly. Nobody suspected anything. At exactly 9 o'clock, something happened. Loud sounds filled the air. Fireworks. Derek arranged fireworks for tonight. They exploded in the dark sky, red and gold and blue. Everyone stopped talking. Everyone looked up. The colors were beautiful. The sounds were loud. Derek raised his champagne glass. "Everyone," he shouted, "I want to make a toast." The crowd turned to face him. They all held their glasses up. I stood right beside him. "To my wonderful wife," Derek said loudly. "For 8 years of happiness, for many more years together." Everyone cheered. They clapped their hands. They drank their champagne. More fireworks exploded above us. The moment was perfect for Derek. This was his night, his celebration, his victory. I reached into my purse. I pulled out the red envelope. "Derek," I said softly. He turned to look at me. I held out the envelope. "This is my real birthday gift to you," I said. Derek's eyes went wide. He looked surprised but pleased. Everyone watched us. They smiled. They thought it was romantic. Derek took the envelope from my hand. "Open it," I said. He opened it carefully. He pulled out the papers inside. His smile disappeared. His face turned white. He read the first page. Divorce papers. Then he saw the other documents. Copies of everything: the insurance fraud, the fake birth year, the emails to his accountant, all the evidence. His hands started shaking. I leaned close to his ear. I spoke quietly. Only he could hear me. "I am 35 today, Derek," I whispered, "and I am old enough to never let you lie again, not for another second." I stepped back. I looked at his shocked face. Then I turned around. I walked away. Behind me, guests still clapped. They still thought everything was fine. They thought the envelope held love letters. They had no idea. Derek stood frozen. He couldn't speak. He couldn't move. He just held the papers. His perfect night was destroyed. I walked across the rooftop. I didn't look back, not even once. I reached the elevator. I pressed the button. The doors opened immediately. I stepped inside. The doors closed. I was alone now. The elevator had mirrors. I looked at my reflection. I saw myself clearly, really clearly, for the first time in years. Then I smiled. A real smile. Outside, fireworks still exploded. I could hear them through the walls, beautiful colors in the dark. But I was going down, away from that party, away from that life, away from Derek. The elevator moved smoothly, down and down, to the ground floor, to the street, to my new life. I didn't belong to Derek's world anymore. I belonged to myself. Finally, completely, forever. The doors opened. I stepped out into the cool night. I walked away, free. Thank you for listening until the end. If you felt something, comfort, sadness, or hope, please press like. It helps this small channel reach more listeners. Share this story with a friend or a student who enjoys learning through stories. And remember to subscribe to Teddy English Story. Subscribing is free, but it supports us more than words can say. Turn on the bell so you can come back easily next time. A new story will be waiting for you.